Chain Drug Review, and Mass Market Retailers Video Forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Wold, Editor-in-Chief of Chain Drug Review and Mass Market Retailers. Welcome to our video forum. Today, we're thrilled to have Rodney McMullen, Chairman and CEO of Kroger Company, with us. And we're also pleased to announce that we have named Rodney our Retailer of the Year. Rodney, congratulations.
Thanks, Jeff, and hello, everyone. And it's an honor to be able to have this recognition on behalf of all of our associates.
Kroger's stated purpose is to feed the human spirit. How is that objective embodied in your stores and your e-commerce operations?
Years ago, we did a lot of focus groups with our associates in terms of when they've had a good day, what does a good day mean to them? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that everybody shared with us, our associates, is they like helping make somebody else's day better. And sometimes making somebody's day better is a smile. Sometimes it's helping them figure out what's for dinner, and sometimes it's what a great wine is. When we did the same thing with our customers never talked about food because it was a given, but what they wanted was somebody that helped them have a better day. So it was one of those where our customers' desires and wants and our associates, what motivated them and what inspired them, it was the same thing. So that's how we came to be Feed the Human Spirit, because it's so much more than just feeding somebody. It really is helping make the world a better place.
Let me talk now a little bit about your e-commerce business. You've worked with Ocado to put together a very powerful offer. I'm curious as to how the consumer has responded to that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And sometimes I think we distinguish between it more than the customer does, because a customer decides they need something, and sometimes they will need something in terms of having it delivered. Sometimes it's picking up at one of our stores, and sometimes it's shopping one of our stores. Ocado is a great partner because of, if you look at our Net Promoter Score, the Net Promoter Score on the deliveries from the shed is always the highest relative to our stores and pickup. So it's an important part of that overall ecosystem. We call it seamless, but really our aspiration is, if somebody thinks food, they think Kroger, and then we deliver against that, whatever that customer wants at that particular point in time.
Maybe you could talk about this e-commerce move from another perspective, and that is expansion. As I understand it, you're using this successfully to extend Kroger's reach without making huge capital investments.
Yeah, that would be correct. If you look at Florida, we have one store in the state of Florida. And Florida is such an amazing state given the population growth and the demographics and everything else. And that's how we moved into Florida, was through the partnership with Ocado in one of the sheds. And we are doing that in several places, even some places where we use the shed that's in an existing market, but we'll do a spoke in a market that's a new location. If you think about in Texas, that's how we went into Austin and Oklahoma City as an example. But it's really, you just one more way of serving customers and leveraging the infrastructure of the company, because we just don't think customers should compromise.
How quickly are you able to gain traction in a market like Florida where you don't have brick and mortar stores?
Yeah, if you look, we're tracking along where we thought we would be. We always, one of the hardest things is about half the customers there knew the Kroger name, but when they saw a Kroger advertisement, they were trying to find the store as opposed to knowing to go online, because historically their experience with Kroger would have been, a physical store. But we're every week on week, it's growing. Year on year, it's growing substantially. And, you just keep at it. And, for us, the repeat usage rate is absolutely critical. And the customers have an amazing repeat rate.
With the presence of a strong omni-channel offer, how is that affecting what goes on in the traditional brick and mortar stores?
Yeah, what you know, as I mentioned before, it's really part of the overall ecosystem. And you know, the thing that I always find fascinating, we have a partnership with Murray's Cheese, and if you live in New York, you probably have actually experienced Murray's Cheese.
Hmm.
Well, you're able to bring that to life in a store. And when you're interacting with a customer, you can ask somebody, what's your favorite cheese? And here, have you tried this? And, you know, so far, it's really hard to do that broader experience online where it's the smell of the food and the taste of the food. And to me, that's the thing about a store. That the other thing about a store that when customers start engaging with us through the multiple channels, they go to a store when they want to, as opposed to when they have to.
Mhm.
And I think they start out with a more open mind about trying new things. And you know, I always talk about it in terms of falling in, you know, the love of food.
Will the center store perhaps shrink? I mean, there's been a certain warehouse function that stores have served, you know, for a neighborhood historically. Is that going to become less necessary?
Yeah, one of the things that I've been around this business for a long, long time, and if you look at the size of the overall store, it stays about the same or keeps getting a little bigger. But if you look at what's inside the store, that always changes.
Mhm.
So I think you'll see, you know, more focus on the fresh departments, um, probably even more space dedicated to like beer and wine. I think what you'll see is the size of the store stays similar, but the way the space is used will continually change.
Mhm. To what degree does Kroger, which obviously is a huge national company, to what degree do you try to localize your offerings, depending on the market, depending on which of your chains is serving that market?
Yeah, I love the question, Jeff. And you know, to for us, you know, most of our customers will only shop at 1 to 3 stores,
Mm.
and I can tell you, I have an amazing uplift when I'm talking to a customer and they talk about, you know, my Ralph's or my Fred Meyer or my Kroger, because when we do it right, that local store really is their store. And
Mhm.
like in Colorado, I was there in the summertime and we had Olathe corn.
Mhm.
And Olathe corn is amazing. I mean, you'd love for those farmers to be able to produce enough to supply it across the whole company. There's just not that much real estate where they can do that.
Mhm.
And you know, if you didn't have Olathe corn and Rocky Ford cantaloupe and things like that in Colorado, people just wouldn't feel like that store's local. But to me, that's what's magical. Then, if you look at supporting the community, uh, we've been a, you know, as you know, we were original founding member of Feeding America, and those relationships are at the local level in our partnership with the local food banks. That only happens by the local stores partnering with that food bank. So, you know, those are the things where, you know, we're just an integral part of the community.
Rodney, you earlier said that you've seen a lot of change, a lot of evolution over your years in the business. How is that impacting the workforce, and how are you trying to equip your associates to deal with technology and other new developments in the supermarket field?
Yeah, if you look at when I came into the business, training, you'd sit down in front of a computer screen, and you know you'd sit there and listen to a DVD tape for an hour, and then they would ask you a few questions. You know, today most of the training is in 90 seconds to 5 minute type pieces.
Mhm.
It's much more tailored to where if there's a specific question I have, I can go get training just on that specific question as opposed to everything broad. You know, technology itself, all we try to do is to use technology. How do we make somebody's job easier so it frees up time for them to be able to focus on the customer and support the customers? And you know, I think about when I came into the business, ordering you know, for the store to order, you had this little machine. You had to go and scan every barcode on every tag up and down every aisle, and you would have to predict. And I remember the first time I ordered Cheerios, I ordered to fill the shelf. I didn't think about having to order enough for the next truck.
Mhm.
Today, our technology does that for somebody so that they can spend that time serving the customer. And it's all of those pieces, and just how do you make it a little bit easier, and how do you make it a little easier to learn how to do your job. And then for people, I mentioned it before, but we have tons of people that come for a job and discover a career that you're supporting people to move into leadership positions as well. And I always think it's so cool when I'm in one of our stores and a store director for a $50 million business is in their 20s, and that
Mhm.
means they're being judged by their ability to lead a team as opposed to somebody judging them on their age.
You mentioned Feeding America. I want to ask you about two things. One, just your commitment to that program and to helping disadvantaged people, and then also food is medicine.
Yeah, I'll start on the first part of your question. One of the commitments that we made several years ago was to provide 3 billion meals by working with local food banks. We actually achieved that almost 2 years early. And I always think about 3 billion. How do you put it in context? And one of the analogies sometimes I use is you can feed everybody in Iceland for the whole year for every meal they eat and still have plenty left over. I'm merging with Albertsons, and this is something that's important for the Albertsons team as well. Together, once we merge, we've committed to providing 10 billion meals by 2030, and we wouldn't be able to do that without the two of us together. If you look at food as medicine, it's one of those things where I would say that we're early in the journey, and we've partnered with the American Heart Association and the Rockefeller Foundation and our own teams. Because if you look at half of the healthcare costs in the United States could be affected in a positive way, i.e. lower, if people ate better. And how do we support people to be able to eat better? And one of the things that we try to do is give people data on what they're eating, and we call it opt-op, but it's nudging. So if I tell somebody you have to do something, they're probably not going to do it. But if somebody tells me they want to eat less salt, with our opt-op, we're able to help somebody figure out something they'll probably like just as well as what they're eating, but less salty or less sugar. And those are things that we're trying to do to support. And then we always will support partner with the government on trying to make sure that people don't have to compromise, and they can have good healthy meals wherever they live. And in some cases that might be delivery. And one of the things that we just added recently is the ability for SNAP customers to get online delivery. Would be one example. To me, the food is medicine. If you go out 10 years, I think it'll be one of the big legacies of the company. I think it's going to take a lot of work for that to be true.
Let me ask you this, if I could. How does the food as medicine emphasis and nutritional emphasis dovetail with your broader pharmacy, health, and wellness offer?
Yeah, for us, it's one of those things where we think we're uniquely positioned to be able to do it together. And Colleen Lenholtz, who is president of our health group, it's always funny to be with her in pharmacy meetings where she said, if we don't fill a single prescription because everybody is so healthy, that's success.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is that mindset of, it's not about the number of prescriptions, it's filling prescriptions only when the customer absolutely needs it. And food is the tie-in. And in few test places now, we're actually working with insurance companies where they are writing actual prescriptions for food. And it's early on, but it looks intriguing.
Maybe you could tell me what your current thinking is about the Albertsons merger that's pending.
Yeah, first of all, I'm incredibly excited about merging with Albertsons. The talent of the people there is just, it's fun when you're at a meeting and you can't tell who works for Albertsons and who works for Kroger. Mm-hmm. And that's super inspiring, super exciting. If you look at from a timeline, we've always thought it would be early 2024. We continue to track along on that. There's active dialogue with the regulators, as you would expect in a transaction this big. But we know by merging, it'll create certain abilities we've committed to starting day one to lower prices over 4 years by $500 million. We've committed to continue to invest in wages, of which both of our companies have done over the last several years. And the support of communities, the thing I talked about earlier, the 10 billion meals. So if you look at, we are where we thought we would be. The thing that I just know, every time we've merged with somebody, there's always a few things they do better than Kroger that you're able to scale into Kroger as well. So it's the reason why whenever we do anything, we always talk about it in terms of a merger, because the day you merge, then everybody works for the same company. And almost half of our senior leaders has come from one of our merged companies earlier in their career. So, to me, we're where we thought we would be. I'm even more excited now than when we announced it in October last year. And we continue to make progress. And, we're to the point now where it's like, let's go start taking care of customers and start supporting our associates.
Mm-hmm. It's an exciting time. And you're from your comments, I gather you think that the divestiture plan you have with C&S Wholesale will satisfy the regulators.
Absolutely. And I know you're familiar with C&S, but they're a great company. They've been in business for over 100 years. They love retail. They love wholesale. They have an amazing amount of talent. They've committed to recognizing the labor contracts, which is something that we were looking for with somebody that we would sell those stores to, because you'd like to sell them 0 stores because exactly what those associates would have. But C&S is committed to recognizing labor contract, continuing to invest in wages, continuing to invest in retail. And, I can't think of a better person or company to sell the stores to because I believe they will treat people just like we would have treated them.
Mm-hmm. Final question for you, Rodney. As you look back at your years at Kroger up until now, I mean, I know there's more to come, but what are the things you're most proud of over your career at Kroger?
Well, it's always, one of the coolest things about my job is you get to help people discover a career. And it's so enjoyable to watch somebody that may have been an HR manager in a plant now that's a senior executive, or so it's just so much pride to see people achieve all they aspire to be and do. And then if you look at the support that we have for communities, and one of the questions that people always ask, if a company doesn't exist, would somebody miss them? And for us, if Kroger didn't exist, I know people tonight wouldn't have an amazing meal that they get to celebrate with family and friends. I know that people that aren't as fortunate as we are, that depend on a food bank, wouldn't have that support. And those are things that it's, so inspiring. And, I always tell people I feel so incredibly lucky to work at the company that I do and have the job I do, and to get to work with the people I do, because all we're trying to do is to help somebody have a better day. So it's an amazing experience and really appreciate it.
Well, you and Kroger both have a lot to be proud of. And again, congratulations on being our Retailer of the Year.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff. Really appreciate it.